Hello and welcome. This is the third week of the second phase of my 10-minute drawing challenge. Now, if you're new to this series, every day in January I drew a prompt suggested by an Instagram follower. I did each of these prompts in 10 minutes, one 10-minute drawing every day. In February, I've taken each of the 4 most popular prompts and I've turned them into a week-long drawing challenge. So in this instance, I'm going to do the drawing 10 minutes a day for 7 days for a total of 70 minutes each drawing. Now, what you're seeing on the screen right now was the original 10-minute drawing that I did back in January. Now, I know it's a pretty basic drawing, but it was pretty popular at the time, and I'm really glad to have a second chance to come back and really get my teeth into it. So let's see how I do with 70 minutes to draw it. Now, I apologise because on day 1 I had the camera focus all wrong, and so the very beginning of this drawing was so blurry I'm not going to show you very much of it. I'm just going to show you enough of this to prove that I did the drawing, and then we'll move on to the next day. In the bottom right you can see the original 10-minute drawing so you can compare. So let's start the second day of the drawing off with a fun little fact. What's a hungry dragon's favourite day of the week? Tuesday! Ha 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 ha! Alright, the dragon is starting to take shape in the drawing now. I really focused mainly on the first day on just getting the shapes where I wanted them. Now on the second day I'm starting to put a little bit of shading in. Now you'll notice that I'm drawing on black paper, and so I'm shading the lights in over the top of the darks. Now this is the reverse of how you might normally do a drawing, where you would have white paper and be marking the darks in. But it can create a really striking effect, and I'm hoping to use that in my finished work to get some really nice contrast. Now this is the same technique that I used recently in my portrait of Wednesday Addams. And if you haven't seen that, I'll put a link at the end of the video so you can go and check it out next. I think it's a really good example of what you can achieve with just pure black and white. In this drawing, however, I'm putting a little bit of blue in, which I think will give it some real pop and sparkle to this dragon. Now as we move into day 3, I want to make a really long lizard joke, but I don't want to make it drag on. But the drawing won't drag on because even when you have 7 lots of 10 minutes, it's still only 10 minutes and I need to keep moving and really keep my focus on to get this drawing done. Now you'll notice that I'm building up some layers of scales on the dragon for this drawing, which I didn't do in the original. I simply didn't have the time. I'm using a fairly blunt pencil for this, so the scales are only going to be very blunt. They won't be very sharp and precise. Now I sharpen these pencils with a knife, and I don't sharpen them to a very fine point. To do that, I'd have to rub them on some sandpaper, which would waste a lot of the pastel. But you can still get the effect of the scales without having to draw every individual scale in, just by thinking about where the light and the dark will be, and by making a series of scale-like marks that look like that with some light on one side and some dark on the other. So it's already day 4, and the dragon is still taking shape. I haven't even started on the background yet. Now it's February and I've gone sailing on by Valentine's Day without even a mention, let alone a romantic drawing. So here's something romantic for you to think about now. What happens if you kiss a dragon on Valentine's Day? Ha! You get 3rd-degree burns on your lips! Now it's getting exciting because we're drawing in the dragon's eye. And you might notice that I drew the eye in with an orange colour. And why orange? Because it's a complementary colour to the blue that I've already used on the dragon. That's why. That will really help make it stand out and make this drawing pop even more. Now the majority of this dragon is made up using a cool colour, the blue. Cool colours should recede into the background, but they won't in this drawing because the blue is also a very strong contrast against the plain black background. And stronger contrast brings things forward in the space of the drawing. Now take a look in the bottom right corner and you'll see the original drawing there on the screen. Check them out, compare them and tell me what you think. Now this is the 5th morning of my drawing. I always do these challenge drawings first thing in the morning, as soon as I get out of bed. I don't even have my cup of coffee yet. That's how early it is. I do it first thing in the morning because that means no matter what else happens throughout the day, I know I've got my drawing done and it gives me a great feeling of accomplishment. But why do dragons always sleep through the day? Because that way they can fight knights. Now those of you who receive my newsletter will know I actually included that joke already in my monthly newsletter. For those of you who don't receive my monthly newsletter, go to my website now and sign up for the newsletter. You won't be disappointed in the quality content and entertainment that you receive every single month. Now I've added a moon in the top right corner to start building up some background in this drawing. Those of you who were here in January will remember that this was one of the prompts I did in the 31 days. I think it will work well to add some nice space to my drawing, and also it gives me a light source to help illuminate my blue dragon. Now February 20 is the penultimate day of this 10-minute drawing challenge. I've only got one more day left, so I really better get to work and get some more of the background in. Now the original prompt for this drawing was a mythical creature in its native landscape, and so I chose a dragon flying around in the mountains. Now this dragon doesn't belong to any particular mythology, it simply is a fantasy style dragon, or at least my interpretation thereof. Now you might be wondering why I made the dragon blue. Now the real question is, what do you do with a green dragon? You have to wait for it to ripen. Okay, I'll let that joke ripen a bit more before I try it again. But the reason why I chose a blue dragon is very simple. A, I think it's a very striking colour, particularly against a black background, and B, it happens to be my favourite colour. I'll bet you're glad you watched this video now. These are important facts that you just won't learn anywhere else. And if you like that, well, go ahead and like the video, because that really will make my day. Thank you so much. January 21, it's make or break day. I have 10 minutes left. What can I do with them? I really have made these mountains way too bright, so I need to devote some of my precious minutes to getting in with the needed eraser and knocking them back. And now the dragon is a little bit loose, and I'm trying to tighten up and add a little bit more detail just to make it that little bit nicer. Now the last few minutes of a drawing always get stressful when you're on a timer. You just don't know how much time you've got left, or whether you're going to have a chance to finish, or you're going to end up with some really weird unfinished thing in the middle of your drawing. Now thinking about that made me think about dragons, and it made me think about doing some research. So I've dug into some long forgotten tomes and annals, and I've found something fascinating that you won't believe. What is the most stressful thing for a dragon? Is it knights? Is it crossbows? No, it's trying to blow out the candles on a birthday cake. Alright, and that's it. That's the finished drawing. I want you to write me a comment below and tell me right now, what do you think? The original 10-minute drawing to me looks more like a bit of a planning drawing where I've figured out the concept, and now we've had time to get in and do a nicer drawing with some more detail. Now if you think that's awesome, well go ahead and look in the description box below. I've put the playlist for the rest of this drawing challenge there. You can go right ahead and watch the rest of the videos and knock yourself out. The last thing that I need to say to you right now is this. Thank you so much for watching the video. See you later. Bye bye.